Howdy, howdy. We are here today with another episode of Cogdell Law Uncensored. Of course, with me is Dan the man. Dan, how's it going?
Good. Happy to be here. Is it Wednesday or it's Thursday? There you go.
It's Thursday, beautiful Thursday. And today we are honored and pleasured to have a special guest with us, Emran Chowdhury. Emran, how's it going?
Going great, thank you.
Dan, I want to kind of start, how's, we always kind of start every episode with the same format of digging through the numbers, but I think we just crossed about 101,000 on TikTok, over 50K on Instagram, 150K plus total across all the platforms. I think 60 million plus views in the 4 months since we started.
He said 60.
60 million. And I'm kind of like shortchanging it. I think it's a little bit more than that, but what's that feel like, knowing that you've gotten that much reach, that much following, people asking for more content? How's that land on you?
Yeah, every time I told you guys the other day I was at HEB this past Saturday, and again, every lawyer thinks they're the greatest lawyer that ever took a breath. I'm not really an exception to that. I think I am, whatever. I'm joking, sort of. But I've tried a lot of cases, lots of places, and a lot of high-profile stuff and documentaries, what have you. And I walk through life completely anonymous, 99.9% of the time. Even when I go home, I'm completely anonymous. Who's that guy at the front door? But ever since this podcast is and the Instagram and the TikTok posts are climbing, I'm getting recognition that I've never gotten before. I never thought I'd get before, and it's fun. That's what can you say? I'm not calling Ferrari Houston and ordering a yellow one yet, but I don't like yellow. But it's been fun.
Emran, you got to see some of his content. Of course, you know Dan pretty well. What do you think about the clips, and how do they land on you? When you see them?
They're amazing. They're funny and right spot on. So I just love it. I love it. My family loves it. My son loves it. It's just amazing.
Well, listen, fun fact is we wouldn't necessarily, I don't think we would be here without you, Emran.
No, this is his fault.
That's funny.
So if our viewers, listeners want to blame anybody, that guy right there, that guy.
So okay, for further color, and I'll let you kind of do a little
Can't say color in this context.
Yeah. For further context here, I'll let you do a little bit more kind of a deep dive of your background. But Emran is the president of the Community Capital Partners, which is a membership that manages East Plano Islamic Center, Epic Masjid in Plano, Texas, and of course the development that has been all over the news, Epic City, quote unquote. Emran hired Dan to be the representation for the case that Governor Abbott and the AG has set against and been trying to stop this development. So I want you to, Emran, kind of first enlighten us, Tommy and I here and our fans. Why Dan? How did you come across Dan and pick him?
Well, we had a common friend.
They didn't have much money. Bottom of the barrel.
That's the first thing I asked Dan. Hey, Dan, how much money? Classic
brown guy move. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, we had a common friend, and he and in those days, some of those tweets were just coming out, and we were struggling as to what should we do, because our community has not gone through all of this. And I got a call from one of the common friends between Dan and us, and he said, "Hey, I just met Dan. He's a great lawyer, and you want to look into it?" And I said, "Hey, man, absolutely." I looked up Dan, and I saw his profile. Amazing. He has done some really good cases, and I gave him a call. I called him and said, "Dan, would you be our lawyer?" He said, "Let me first come to Epic. Let me see you guys first." And he did come to Epic, and he met us. He saw the mosque. He saw the compound.
Or lack thereof.
Or the lack of compound.
The piece of land.
As they say, right? But I think it's been an amazing experience.
And Dan, you've kind of shared this story, right? Bits and pieces of it in the past when things were really fresh and the story was hot. But how was that, getting that call from Emran and understanding what this type of case was? Did you have any type of experience that was similar? What was that like for you?
I had less than zero experience with, anybody of the Muslim faith, as I've joked before, but it's only funny because it's true. I mean, I'm whiter than my shirt. All right, I grew up in in an area not far from here. I went to high school not far from here. We had 1,000 kids in our graduating class. I don't mean to brag, but I was the outstanding metal shop student 2 times in a row at Stratford High. But we didn't have any blacks, much less Muslims. I mean, it was just a very homogenetic community. And, you know, having my head down for the last 45 years practicing law, I've never practiced with a Muslim that I was aware of. I'm sure there were plenty of lawyers that were Muslim. I just didn't have any feelings about Muslims in general other than I don't know much about them. And what I didn't realize was I didn't anticipate, frankly, Aaron, how lovely the Epic folks would be to deal with. They're the nicest, most responsive, most appreciative, most decent client base I've ever had. And also what I didn't appreciate was just how triggering the words Muslim or mosque are. People in the year of our Lord 2025, they go insane when you say mosque or Sharia law or Muslim. It's just, my God. I mean, we haven't gone very far at all since 9/11. Last I checked, that was 24 years ago. And still, the words Muslim or mosque, particularly in Central Texas where the Bible Belt buckles, I mean, you grew up, you've lived this, both of y'all have. People are, the prejudice and the innate hate is just instantaneous. I wasn't prepared for that. I just wasn't. And
Yeah, you know,
the bipolarity of it, to interrupt, the bipolarity of it, experiencing just how lovely the folks at Epic were versus the vitriolic response, the hate mail. I'm still getting hate mail. It's you get whiplash trying to parse through it.
You know, we also still get several comments that are confused. We get direct messages, Dan, often about like people trying to educate us on why Islam is bad and how you're wrong or you're blind or you're not really seeing this or you don't get it. I will say that it's pretty interesting, Imran. Like the community that you've built and you've been a part of. You know, I want you to kind of give us a quick bio of how you came up and what led you to this point, and obviously all things Epic.
So Aaron, remember that this Epic community has been there for 20 years. And over the 20 years, we have done a lot of good things for community. We are the only overnight warming shelter for City of Plano. We collaborate with 6 other churches and many other interfaith organizations. Every year, we are the only spot in the city where we pack 100,000 meals. Collaborating with other faiths. So this community is not just about Muslims. It's about having an interfaith. It's about having a dialogue with our neighbors. We do back to school drives and many, many things. So I think as Dan said, there is a lot of misunderstanding. There is a lot of fear of who we are. And I think this is about time for us to have a dialogue, to have an understanding, to have a collaboration. That we are all, at the end of the day, we are all Texans, we are all Americans. And we want to do good for the society, for the community at large.
Totally. And I want to get into that. I mean, it is unfortunate when people, think of Muslims, they quickly think of Sharia law next, and then terrorism and radical Islam. And it quickly goes to a very extreme place because of, how people are programmed. We were born and raised in Texas and had to deal with a lot of that, hate-fueled messaging post 9/11, just, being kids. And at first, my personal experience was always like, I always felt like a type of way of like, oh, why do these people dislike me? They don't even know me yet. But over time, I've learned that it's not almost a lot of people's fault, right? Because they're just programmed to feel like these things are extreme or there's this Sharia law or things of that nature. And before we kind of dig more into Epic City and what your goal is and what the original...
we've changed the name now to protect the innocent. We've gone from Epic City to the Mosque and Epic Community.
Okay, the Mosque and Epic Community,
I'm sorry, the Meadows. The Meadows and Epic Community.
The Meadows of Epic Community.
It's still not public news, but I think through your channel, maybe it's going to come out.
There we go. We'll reword it so that we can get
My PR is going to kill me.
There we go. Well, I just want to know about the vision a little bit, but before that, Imran, please give us a little bit of idea of your background specifically and kind of, the role that you play now.
I've been, I'm a Texan for the last 21 years. And I've been, U.S. citizen, and I got a beautiful family, 3 kids. I got a son who goes to college. I got 2 girls who are going to elementary and middle school. And just like anybody else, I've been just started volunteering at the mosque and some other places, and slowly just got into the leadership and all of this. And that's how I sort of been, being working with the community. As far as my background, by profession, I am a senior manager in a multinational firm. I've been there for 27 years, and this project for me was not a full-time project. It has become full-time now, but it was something that's something that we started a couple of years ago, and we never thought that it will turn into this thing. Never ever in our dream we thought that we'll be here with all this backlash and everything, right? So that's where we are.
Got it.
Well, I mean, let's go there. So, again, whitest guy in the room, not an unusual place for me to be. When I rolled into the Epic, the East Plano Islamic Center, I didn't really know what to expect. And it's a nice big mosque, but you have 10,000 people that attended. It's a substantial mosque. Fun fact, and people don't want to accept this, but I think it's true. There are somewhere between 350 and 400,000 Muslims in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, which is a lot, right? An even more fun fact is, Muslims represent approximately 1/3 of the people on the planet. So let's say that again: 1/3 of the people on the planet. And so all these, whatever we want to call them, I'll just call them Billy Bob Texans. They hear the word Muslims and they think, oh, wait, we can't let them come in here. Well, hey, Hoss, they're here. They've been here. And guess what? They're not doing anything wrong, and they didn't plan on doing anything wrong. That's not their plan. So you pull into the East Plano Islamic Center. It's a nice mosque. It's surrounded by a nice little community of homes. I guess I'm just spitballing here, Imran, you can tell me, but it looks like those houses are anywhere between 750 and $1.5 million, something like that.
Then just a lot, a 6,000 square feet lot is for 700,000, not the house.
Okay.
And I live just probably 5 minutes from the mosque, and my house is less than the lot value next to the mosque.
Okay.
So that tells you the price.
Yeah. So the point we're trying to make, or at least I am, if you're a faithful Muslim, or a lot of Muslims will pray 5 times a day. And if you pray 5 times a day, it's handy to live near a mosque, because otherwise that's going to be your entire day driving to and from the mosque. Point being, all the houses near Epic have been bought up primarily by Muslims because of the access to the mosque. Well, Imran came up with the, I don't want to say obvious, but good idea. Hey, all these houses are already bought up. Let's move out into the country. Let's buy 500, 1,000 acres. Let's put a mosque in the middle of it, make it Muslim-friendly, but not Muslim-centric, arguably, but not Muslim only. At no time did they say, we're only going to sell this to Muslims. We're only going to allow Muslims to buy and sell. So they put up the website, and it was Muslim-oriented, and one human, Amy Mack, who's a self-proclaimed Islamophobe, came out with this nonsense rhetoric that it was going to be, they were going to invoke Sharia law. Guess what? They've been there for 20 years. They've never tried to invoke Sharia law at Epic. There are doctors, there are lawyers, there's engineers, there's husbands, wives, kids, police officers, elected officials. There's nothing Sharia law intended about it, either at the existing one or the planned one. Oh, they're going to have no-go zones. They're never going to have no-go zones. There's literally a police officer substation within about 50 feet of the current Epic city. Then they said there was going to be, all this just hate speech promulgated by this self-proclaimed Islamophobe. Well, she tweets and puts it out on social media, and within 2 days, I guess, Governor Abbott just adopts it all, just says it all must be true. And we're going to sick the Texas Rangers. We're gonna make sure that they don't have no-go zones. We're gonna make sure that, without ever contacting us, without ever reaching out to us, just spews these lies, culminating last week where he held a press conference and he said, we are stopping Epic City. We have created a law that will stop Epic City. There's not going to be any Sharia law. We never intended to have Sharia law, and we'll get into this. We're going to prevent no-go zones. We never intended to have no-go zones. Just all this nonsense came about because of the lies and the misstatements by Amy Beck, completely adopted by Governor Abbott and others. One of the funniest things is this House Bill 4221 or Senate Bill 4221 was written by Candace Owens, who's a local politician there. We approved 4221. We supported it because guess what? We don't want Sharia law. We don't want no-go zones. We don't want any of that. But and I'm getting a little animated because it just absolutely enrages me that people continue to spew these falsehoods without ever picking up the phone and calling us, right?
Absolutely. Never got a call. Never got a call. Never got anything. Hey, come talk to us. Talk to us about what you have going on there. I wish that they talk to us before, the tweets go out and the slanders go out and all of this. And absolutely 100%, what Amy Mack is doing is nothing but slander.
So
she's trying to use us against
in the 20
each other.
years, Imran, that y'all have been there, has anyone ever proposed to invoke Sharia law?
Never.
Has anyone ever proposed no-go zones?
Never. I've been here 20 years in Texas, close to Epic Mosque. Never, ever, never.
And let's go sideways there for a second because Abbott always, in Texas, we're not going to tolerate this. We're not going to tolerate these. You guys are Texans, right? You've been Texans for generations.
And I want to comment on that because I think it's interesting with Amy Mack because it's not like Epic was the first case that she was attacking in terms of Islam, right? Mm-hmm. She has a history of peddling hate towards Islam and, using what's happening in the UK with the immigration there, using any kind of story with any kind of Muslim who had gone into any kind of trouble, taking that and just trying to blow it out of proportion. And what she did was she used that rendering to loop in all these other things, right? She played the rendering. She said, look, they're everywhere. They're coming over and they're going to implement Sharia law. And this rendering is showing that, I want to show Texans here that it's also coming to your neighborhood. Watch out. And then Abbott, totally gave it a huge audience and platform whenever he quote retweeted it, right? So clearly they're trying to loop these bad stories all together and make it seem like this project has something to do with those kind of stories. So when something like that happens, Imran, have you ever dealt with anything like this? And how did it start coming to you that this was like a huge story?
So Aaron, here is the irony of the ironies. That when we started this project back late 2023, we went to the lawyers and we said, this is what we have. We want to make sure. And exactly this is what we want to make sure we do everything according to the U.S. and Texas law.
And let me put him on pause for a second. The lawyers that they went to were real lawyers, right? They weren't some throwdown, side of the road lawyers that they were the son-in-law of a Muslim attendee at Epic. These are big firm, highly qualified, highly competent lawyers. They and I'm interrupting Imran, and I'll let him have the microphone back in a second. But my point is, from day one, they went to lawyers so they made sure they were following the law, not violating the law. Meanwhile, all Abbott and Candace Owens and Amy Mack and everybody else in that just hate speech group, they want to violate the law. The exact opposite has been what's happening, but they won't hear us. They won't listen to us.
Yeah, and just one thing, it's Candy Noble.
Candy Noble, I'm sorry.
Right? Yeah, Candace Owens today is a different person.
Pardon, thank you.
So just one. So here, Aaron, to your point, as Dan said, right, from day one, our goal, purpose was to make sure we do everything of whatever law says, right? And this is where we started. And along the way, we've been consulting on every step of the way. Hey, this is what we should do. What should we do? What should we do? Are we doing things right? Right? Because that was the goal. It's a big development. We understand there could be, things that we could miss. That's why we kept on going back. Hey, we don't miss anything. And when this whole thing came because of Amy Mack's slanders, and she is trying to create fear among Texans, among ourselves. I don't know where she sits. I don't know if this is a real person, whoever she is. Just trying to create fear in the hearts of Texans for each other, trying to create hate for each other without even knowing what the facts are. So when this whole thing blew up, seriously, it was a shock to me. It was absolutely shocking that we have done something this. And maybe it's a perception of that. And like I said, but from day one, do things right. And even now I say, if there is something that we may have missed, we'll fix it, even if there is something. And this is what we have told all the agencies and everybody who ever inquired. Look, here is what it is. Here is what we did. And if there is something that you see, tell us, we'll fix it. We are not here to create Sharia. We're not here to create no-go cities. Whatever is being claimed, we want to work together.
Totally.
Let's work together.
So they keep harping on Sharia law, right? That's something that they keep using as a way to get people afraid. So when you hear Sharia law, what does that mean to you? What is Sharia law?
Well, initially, even though I'm a practicing Muslim or Muslim, I really did not know what really Sharia. I swear to you, I swear to God, I did not really know what Sharia means in terms of.
Emron, most Muslims don't.
That's why they're laughing. It's just they don't either.
We don't either.
and
so I'm like,
so when our PR firm Erin and I don't want to give her full name, like when she reached out to me and said, Imran, tell me what is Sharia? Because they keep on saying Sharia, right? I went to the Google and looked up, right? Okay, what does it mean for me living in America? What does Sharia means, right? Because of course, different countries, different contexts. You live in a Muslim country, it's a different.
Of course.
You live in a majority non-Muslim, it's different, right? If you talk to our scholars. So this is what I looked up. I said, okay, I live in America. What does Sharia means? And I said, Erin, this is what it is. So take a look at that. I am the president of this development, right? If anybody would have said anything,
well, to be fair, you formerly were headed the mosque as well.
Yeah, I was head of the mosque. So it's like, what's going on here, right? Dan has been to our mosque. You have been to the mosque. Do you see any compounds? Do you see any no-go zones? Please go talk to the churches and the temples around the mosque. We are a collaborative community. We work with each other, right? We are solving the community, the city problems together with city. With city, we're solving problems, right? With overnight shelters, with food pantries. Every Saturday, we have a food pantry. Doesn't matter who you are. Just drive through, we give you a box and go. So I don't understand. This is beyond me. This fear that we are creating for each other, it's beyond me.
I think, and I don't want to speak for you guys, Imran, but I think one of the reasons you guys hired me is because I don't look or present like you, right? And having the whitest guy in the room try to explain to non-Muslims why they have nothing to fear, for lack of a better description, they're going to hear me and listen to me a little before they're going to hear you and listen to you, because I guess inarticulately, the prejudice against Muslims is so steep and so existent that if a Muslim says nothing to see here,
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a great point, Dan, and I think it's something that I'm actually very grateful for in terms of Emron, you deciding to go the route of leveraging Dan, because there are several, brown Muslim American lawyers that are probably very, very good at what they do, very, well-read, put together, and you guys could have gone the route of familiarity and using someone in your community or somebody that you felt like, okay, they're gonna understand what we're going through and they're gonna best represent us. But what typically happens is that the everyday person is they're not going to be receptive to that type of image, right?
That's
so
right.
Dan coming in, he's got the Southern draw, he doesn't know much about Islam. He doesn't know much about Muslim. He's going to kind of be as unbiased and objective as possible, right? He is, a lot of people say, well, yeah, Dan, you're
a lawyer. You'll say anything.
You'll say anything for the right amount of money. Like, yeah, you'll
And to be fair, I will not say anything for the right amount of money. I will say anything for the wrong amount of money, but not the right amount of money.
And so I am very grateful that you guys went this route, because I think it's a lot more powerful, to Dan's point, that he's a better messenger to resonate with the community that Epic is, the Meadows or what have you in Josephine, Texas. A lot of people will see Dan and feel like that's kin, but if they see you and I, they'll be like, oh, these people are different. They are coming to make a difference. So did that go into the decision making? Was it just his like credentials that you guys decided, or was there a piece of it where it's like, no, Dan's a white guy, like it'll help to have somebody like him?
So of course he is a good lawyer.
Yeah.
Dan is an amazing lawyer, and that was the case. But of course, as Dan says himself, he's whiter than his shirt. But unfortunately, right? That should not be the criteria.
Of course,
that's right.
You should just look at, yes, he is a good lawyer, and he's gonna do what's best for his client. But yes, but that does go into that, in that thought process. And Aaron, you should know that Muslims in Texas right now, they feel they're not being heard. They're fearful of what's going on, just being pegged on for some constituents, for the voting for the bloc. We feel fearful. And that's where, a lot of Muslims feel that it's time for us to, really be heard, right? And I think this is what and I think I feel that, and many of the Muslims feel, that Dan is giving us that voice, that he is humanizing who we are. He just did not simply has those perceptions. He did not go with his, because as you heard, he never really met somebody like that he really dealt with, a Muslim. But he made an attempt
to learn
and at least talk to us. Hey guys, what's going on, right? Come to our mosque, talk to the people over congregation, right? And at least see who these people are, who are, so that's what I think is missing right now, is that all these politicians and people out there who are just saying all these things, come and talk to me.
Yeah, that's the black hole that we're in right now, right? Because literally from day one, from the first press conference I held, I said, if you want to come visit the property, let me know. If you want to come look at our books and records, let me know. If you want to come interview our folks, let me know. And Abbott was saying from day one, I'm going to send the Texas Rangers to investigate they must cease construction or the full weight of Texas. Well, we hadn't even started construction. We hadn't even applied for the permits. And it's just, no matter what we say, no matter what we do, that's so obvious and so truthful, he doesn't want to hear the truth. He is the highest elected official in the state. I get it. We're supposed to be nice. We're supposed to be respectful of our elected officials. But for God's sakes, we have said since day one, we're an open book. Read it. And from day one, they have said, we don't want to read your book. We don't care what's in it. We've already got our mind made up. That's what's so frustrating to me. When he comes out on Friday and says, we have stopped Epic. We are stopping Sharia law. We never started Sharia law. We have stopped the no-go zones. We never started the no-go zones. We have forbid them from selling to Muslims. We never said we were going to sell. We've said the exact opposite. And no matter how hard we try and yell and scream, it's like talking to a deaf person.
Dan, we support Bill 4211.
Right.
And it's an irony that you see that, okay, you're trying to block something, and we are supporting the bill.
Right.
We're saying we're not doing what you're saying there, right? So it's absolutely what you said is we're supporting the bill.
So let's get our viewers current. So when I got hired, and let me be crystal clear, I'm not taking credit for much, if any, of the successes we've had through the legal perspective, but as people that are familiar with the story from a 30,000-foot view, Senator Cornyn is trying to use this as a chess piece to get elected. He sent in the Department of Justice. They're going to investigate the fair housing law. You cannot sell to only Muslims. So the Department of Justice came in. They conducted their investigation, and what happened?
Dismissed within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's dismissed.
I mean, it was 2 or 3 weeks. The federal government came in at the request of John Cornyn, a United States senator, which puts a whole lot of pressure on the DOJ to find something wrong. Right when the senator from that state says, "Go get him," and they come out, and it's literally nothing to see here. And not only was it a nothing to see here conclusion, they sent us a letter which they don't have to do. So the next thing we were grappling with was the TWC, the Fair Housing, the Texas Workers what is that entity?
Workforce Commission.
The Texas Workforce Commission. They were investigating from a state perspective the fair housing law or fair housing violations. What happened there, Ron?
It's also dismissed, and we have a public conciliation with TWC. So yes, that's also dismissed. That's also gone.
So the claims by Abbott and Amy Meck and Candy Noble and everyone else that we were always going to sell to Muslims and no one but Muslims could buy are I think the legal expression is a complete bullshit. A federal investigation has concluded there's nothing there. A state investigation has concluded there's nothing there. Then it got really creative because they were coming after the mosque for a violation of the funeral home laws, which I didn't really know that there was a funeral home commission in the state of Texas, but it turns out there is a funeral home commission. That's been resolved. It's out of the way. Then there was a Texas State Securities Board investigation. We have complied with that hook, line, and sinker. We have no reason to believe that investigation is going anywhere. There was also an investigation by the Texas Attorney General's office. We have complied with each and every one of their requests. We have provided them with every ounce, every word of information they've sought. We likewise believe nothing will come of that. So all these investigations, all this fury, all this thunder and lightning of allegations at the beginning, it's all gone because there really is nothing to see here.
And Dan, let me just add to this one more thing that, look, from our perspective, we welcome any feedback. TWC gave us a feedback. Hey, you should do this. Yes, you can improve. Absolutely. And we will improve, right? And we welcome any feedback. But come and talk to us. Don't make statements which are not true. We're slanderous. So come talk to us, and we are ready to work with anybody to make sure that we do everything according to the law. We are not here to break anything.
I think there's a misconception that most Texans that don't have any maybe relationships with Muslims or know of Islam about what the faith means and what the community actually looks like, right? We grew up in North Dallas, born and raised. Most Muslims in North Dallas are very proud Texans. There's a pride. Most Muslims have Texan pride. They love the family-oriented nature, being faith-based, and most Muslims are conservative. Is there anything about that you want to speak on a little bit to kind of educate our viewers about what the community in North Dallas of Muslims are actually like?
Look, most of the Muslims are conservative. We are a conservative community, and we align mostly with the Republican, side of it. And that is true, right? So it's kind of not sad, but in a way it's ironic that the most of the criticism comes from that group. That somehow we are trying to do something which is illegal, or we are trying to bring Sharia, or we are trying to do something which is far from true. So yes, our values are aligned. Many of them, Muslims are Republicans. They vote Republican, right? And not to say Democrats, but I'm just saying that because of being conservative, right? They are conservative, and and we want to work with the other faiths. We are working with other faiths.
So Governor Abbott, Dan, he called it protecting religious freedom from bad actors during the signing. What's your response to that?
Respectfully, Governor Abbott, P.T. Barnum would be proud of you because you're claiming you solved a problem that doesn't exist. And in my view, you're doing nothing but perpetuating a fraud by saying that you are stopping Sharia law. It didn't start by stopping no-go zones. They never started by preventing Muslim only purchases and sales. That was never intended. And look, politicians run for re-election. I get that. And maybe Abbott was relying upon his handlers or his people to feed him, the accurate information. But this has been going on for 6 months at least. Mm-hmm. And from day one, we have said nothing to see here, but come on out if you want to. And instead of taking us up, instead of sending, picking up the phone, they just continue to hurl lies and claim and do victory laps for solving a problem that never existed. And it really is disappointing that it's gone on as long as it has. It needs to stop.
Now, growing up as a young Muslim, Imran, my parents always taught me and my brothers to, stay in the lane, follow the rules. Like, even if you're getting hate or discriminated, like, don't fight back. Like, kind of put your head down and don't let that stuff get to you, and just keep, education as a forefront, keep your faith strong, and over time your success will tell your story. Do you feel like all of this hate and vitriol that this project is getting is shying the leadership team or the community away from the project? Do you feel like they're kind of giving up on this because it's just got so much just drama? Or is there still, strength and faith that, like, hey, this community is going to be beautiful once it's built?
Many of them are strong. Many of them understand because they have gone through this again and again. But of course, Aaron, in any other project, there are financial limits. People do have financial challenges, right? People do have concerns, right? This will happen or not. And this rhetoric that keeps coming up again and again, it does have an impact, psychological impact on our people who are looking forward for this community and others, right? So absolutely, it has an impact. But I also feel that majority is strong. They want to see this project come to fruition, and we are working towards it. We are working towards that. But overall, I would say one of the drawbacks, one of the things that's happening because of all of this is our youth who's grown up, and when they see this kind of rhetoric coming from the leaders of the state in the state, it has an impact on them. They feel that even though they're born and raised in Texas, they're not welcomed. Just because of their faith, they're not welcomed. So that is a bigger problem than just this project. That what are we trying to do? Okay, it's a project, but what you're saying is just more than that.
Well, and the idea that Abbott is claiming, in some way or another, he's contributing to religious freedom. The exact opposite is what's happening, and he knows that. He's putting lipstick on a pig and calling it Marilyn Monroe, right? It's just ridiculous what he's done, and our PR human has told us to be nice and be kind and quit throwing hand grenades, and believe it or not, I'm trying. But this has been so frustrating to watch this charade of a politician and this charade of the truth. They've been lying since day one. We have federal investigations to prove that they were lies. We have state investigations to prove that they are lies. We have the truth on our side since day one. We've had an open invitation since day one, and yet they continue with this bullshit, right? And to what end? I mean, what is their end game? Do they think that the voters are so stupid that they'll swallow it hook, line, and sinker? And maybe they are. I don't know. But I would ask anyone that's listening to this podcast to simply search for the truth about what's been happening out there. And the truth is They are nothing but law-abiding, decent, homegrown Texans that are trying to follow the law. It's insane that it's come this far.
And in this community, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're people who make a huge impact in their community beyond Muslims. They're people who have love again for their Texan roots, like the kids that Imran are mentioning, like myself, like Tommy, who were born and raised in North Dallas. What's your reaction, Dan, when you see the way that this Muslim community is handling this type of pressure? Like what have you seen? What's your perspective on the way they've been handling themselves?
I look forward to going out there, right, and to meeting with the folks that attend. And no offense, ladies, but for me to say I look forward to going to Plano, those are words I never thought would come out of my mouth, right? but they are so gracious and so decent. It's just refreshing to be around them, and I know that sounds like bullshit because it's coming from a lawyer, but it's true. I love my relationships with these clients. They're the nicest client base I've ever had, and I'll hang out with them, work with them, see them after hours any chance I get. And I say you people, and that's a shitty thing to say because it sounds like, oh, all my friends are Muslims. I know Muslims. We get along well, but the restraint and the decency that the Muslim people have shown me they exhibit and possess is amazing. It's not just eye-opening; it's stunning. Because I get enraged by the hate speech, for lack of a better definition, and they have to calm me down, and they're the ones that live it day to day, and they have to calm me down about it.
And do you have, Dan, any kind of message that you'd like to give our Muslim audience in terms of maybe some encouragement, because maybe they're feeling like, man, this is a game we can't win no matter what, even if we do it by the book, like Imran said, even if we follow the rules, even if we are doing everything that we possibly can to contribute to the community and to show who we really are, we still are getting this type of pushback and hate. We're still getting our own governor telling us what we're doing and what we're not doing. What's your message to them?
The best I can do, Aaron, in this context is just to quote Tom Petty, we're not backing down. I am convinced in my heart and my soul that one day, and it may be 2 years instead of 6 months, it may be 5 years instead of 2 years, but one day we'll have this project, and I think it will all be worth it, not because it's going to be Beverly Hills, but because it will show that at the end of the day, truth matters. And religious freedom does matter, and decency does matter, and doing the right thing does matter.
And Imran, what about you? What's your message to maybe not the supporters of the community or Muslims that are following us, but more so like our neighbors in the community who maybe don't have relationships with Muslims and maybe don't really know what's going on? Do you have any kind of message for them in terms of, who we are and who you are and what your kind of goal is with this community and the Muslim community in North Dallas?
So, Aaron, I would say that to our fellow Texans and to the officials, that trust me, we do not have any malice. We don't have any bad intention. If they see something that they may not fully understand, or maybe it's coming out that way, maybe it's a misperception, or even if we have made a mistake, right? Come and talk to us. We are not here with bad intention. We want to build a good community. In that community, we want to bring a community center. We want to bring a gymnasium. We want to have a school, of course, a mosque. We want to have retail, senior living for anybody. We want to have, hopefully a hospital and many other amenities, retail, apartments, and town. And so we don't have any bad intention. This can a win-win situation. As you know, in Texas, there is a housing shortage. We want to bring this to the state of Texas, to that community, to grow that community. You know how many jobs can we create? All these positives that can come out of this for our fellow Texans, for the fellow county, it's for county, right, Collin County and Hunt County. So work with us. Come and talk to us. At least the least you could do is just come and talk to us.
Yeah, I love that. Tommy, do you have any questions that you'd like me to ask Emron? Yeah, so I'll ask the question again through the mic. So, Emron, can you give us examples or some understanding of your relationship and in the Muslim community's relationship with other faith-based community leaders in the North Dallas area?
A really good question. As one of the premier mosques in the DFW area, I think I did mention before that we are the only overnight warming shelter. And it's not a one institution job. We have 6 other churches and temples that we work with. We have Methodist churches, we have others. And I don't have exact names right now, but I can give you those names. We do have other faiths that we work because we couldn't do it alone. There are 8 to 10 teams coming from different faiths coming together. So that's overnight warming shelter for City of Plano. Now every year we pack 100,000 meals. And there are more than 1,000 volunteers coming from different faiths, not just Muslim faith, from different faiths, right? So we are working with other faiths. We are working with other churches. And yes, we will have those, our partners come out and say what this community stands for, what EPIC stands for, because it stands for good, for a community at large.
I guess my other question for a second, okay, maybe we should just stop this development.
And let me ask that question again. And Tommy's question is, because of all the backlash, because of this really going viral locally and nationally, right? Did you feel like maybe this isn't an endeavor did that stop you and make you feel like we shouldn't move forward? This is too much to deal with?
No, look, when you start something big, you gotta be patient. That is a virtue that you gotta have. You gotta be patient. There will be challenges. There will be, many people who's gonna stop you. But if your intention is good, and you have good people around you, you can get through it. You can get through those challenges together. And that is why I welcome any feedback coming from our community, from anybody, from officials, neighbors, Muslim, non-Muslim, doesn't matter. So right now, and even before, no, it was never in our mind that we're gonna stop this project because we have done nothing wrong. From day one, like I said, we tried to follow every single law. Right? And as I always say, even if we make any mistake, right, even if, come and talk to us. We'll fix it. We'll work with you. We want to get it done. So yeah, no, we are steadfast and God willing, we'll get it done.
My last question, sort of the way forward.
Yeah, so the question that Tommy's asking is that there is a general fear from the community that if this development gets built, it's not just for the Muslims of North Dallas, but it'll draw in more Muslims from other places. And because maybe they don't have a good relationship or understanding of the people who are really good Muslims, that, they will take over their community. So what's the messaging, to maybe bring people's kind of tension down on that?
In other words, we don't want any more people like you over here. And if this neighborhood comes in, there are going to be more people. So what are you going to do about keeping more of you people away?
Exactly.
Look, I know it's a fear, and the way I look at this, people are moving, whether they're Muslims or non-Muslims. They're coming into Texas. They see opportunities in Dallas, in Houston, in Austin, in different cities. So people are moving, irrespective of this development or not, right? The way I would look at this is this good for the community? Do we have a housing shortages in Texas, in Dallas? Do we have enough houses? So if this development is trying to bring something, and like right now through this podcast, I want to say, anybody, whoever you are, whether Muslim, non-Muslim, whoever, please come. You want to live in the community? If you have a concern, come talk to me.
Hey,
apply for a lot. Absolutely. That's no issue. But we are trying to solve a problem for state of Texas, for our community, which is shortage of housing.
I've never asked you this question, Imran, and it just occurs to me because I'm slow. But surely you must be familiar with the crime rate around EPIC, right? The crime rate in the surrounding community. I gotta guess it's way lower than in a non-Muslim community. Am I right or am I wrong?
Generally, and I don't want to make an open statement, but I absolutely I would say that should be the case, because most of the Muslims that I know, and absolutely our focus is our family. Our focus is, hey, stick to the faith, family, work, just like anybody else. We don't want to go hungry. Just like anybody else, we have kids that we want to make sure they grow up to be good citizens of United States and good Texans, just like anybody else. So all of those things we have more in common than what we think, in faith, in family, and in many other things. And I think if somehow we can come together and talk to each other, I think we can solve much more than we can where we are right now.
The other thought that I hear expressed frequently is, well, you say you're not going to invoke Sharia law. Well, look what's happening in London, or look what's happening here, or look what's happening there. So, and again, I don't want to keep you here too much longer, but are those concerns appropriate? Are they overblown? Is Sharia law taking over London? Is Sharia law taking over major metropolitan cities in other countries? I mean, help me with the words again. The Sharia law just scare the shit out of people, right? And you always hear, well, it's happening in London, or it's happening over here, or it's happening over there, and they're marrying 12-year-old girls, and they're cutting off people's hands for stealing. I mean, is that happening in for example, London? And if so, is it gonna why isn't it gonna happen here?
Dan, I am not aware of any community in Europe or in America where there is any Sharia. I am not aware of it.
There's a common belief.
I am absolutely not aware of any community. I think it's blown out of proportion by Islamophobes. But again, if there is something out there, I don't know. Look, in any religion, there are bad actors.
Sure.
And you know more than me, right? You have dealt with some of those cases. Am I going to do it? So are we going to look at those bad actors? 99.9% of Muslims are peace-loving. And there is no intent to have any Sharia anywhere. Look, I've been here for 20 years, or actually now 33 years. I have never seen any community that I've lived in. I have lived in a bunch of communities where there is any Sharia, right? So this is the fear that is being created for us to just be, fearful. And you basically, get your way, and there are maybe other motives. But that's what it's just fear for no reason. And of course, there's financial gain for those who are creating fear, especially Amy Mack and some others.
And I find this very interesting, Dan, because like most people that I know in the Muslim community as well, it's like they also don't know what's going on in those other parts of the world with Islam and whatever messaging, because they're often not really paying attention to that. They're focused on their job, their family, their faith, their actual community. There's like a respect your neighbor aspect of Islam that's very important. There's like a cleanliness aspect of Islam that's very important. There's a leave a place better than you found it aspect of the group of the community in North Dallas specifically that exists. There's a respect nature to the community that they live in. So I think that answer is interesting from Imran, because it's very consistent with most Muslims, where it's like, listen, I don't know what's going on over there. Like we have.
No, and I accept that for sure.
Yeah.
And it's the same. I mean, what do I know about what's happening with the Christian church in Ireland? Not a clue. I don't have a fucking clue, right? Because I got shit to do here. That's just not my concern.
Yeah.
But that's inevitably when I say that's not their intention here. They go, well, forget about here. Look at over there, and what over there is coming over here. I mean, that's the logic, and it's not without a logical assumption. But what my question is there any factual basis to that fear?
And then that is why when the 4211, they were looking at it, we said we welcome it. We support that bill.
Yeah.
Nobody's looking to create any tribunals. We're gonna have any other HOA, it's just a neighborhood. So we welcome this kind of thing. And yes, if there is anybody out there who might have those motives, you know what? Do it. I'll be with you.
Well, that's what was so amazing to me. I saw Abbott and Candy Noble and everybody up there on that Diaz, and they were all smiling like a jackass eating cactus over the fact that they had cured Sharia law. They'd invoked the law that was preventing it, and there was never any intention to invoke Sharia law. There was never any intention to have no-go zones. So I mean, they really have good chiropractors because they have thrown their arms out of socket, patting themselves on the back for solving a problem that didn't exist. It's just mind blowing.
Absolutely.
And there's
Viewers, can you explain what 4211 is?
Well, Imran can probably
Well,
quote
I'm
it.
not a lawyer.
What 4211 basically says, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it's a law. You got to follow the law. I mean. It says you can't invoke Sharia law. No shit, you never could. You can't have no-go zones. No shit, you never could. You can't sell only to Muslims. No shit, you never could. So it's this complete, vacuous bullshit law that says you have to follow the law, and they're high-fiving each other that they passed it. It's like, this is what our resources go to? This is what we pay you to do? Pass a law that says we got to follow the law? What's next? Pass another law that says we can't violate the law? We could be here all day.
Emron, I want to ask you about, obviously Amy Meck's gotten mentioned a few different times, but I want to ask you of a Texas congresswoman. I don't think she's in Congress, but she's a political figure that's trying to make her way into Congress. A lady named Valentina Gomez. Are you familiar with Valentina?
Yeah, I've seen.
So
TikToks,
so Valentina, more recently, Dan, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but she's been going on a big kind of riding the coattails of Amy Meck, saying Islam has no place in Texas. She wore a hijab and walked on stage, took it off to say some bad things about Islam. She more recently, she burned a Quran on camera and said, I don't care if they're coming after me or whatever, like this has no place in Texas. So this is somebody that's kind of trying to sensationalize, trying to make a name for herself off of this stuff as well. She's got a decent amount of followers herself, but when you see a video of somebody burning the Quran like that, or trying to mock or just downplay the religion, as a leader in the community, one, how does that make you feel? What's your initial reaction? And two, what do you say to your community in terms of, hey, how to react, or like how do you message that, or protect the community from those types of messages?
Aaron, of course, as a Muslim, it hurts, right? It hurts that somebody is burning your holy book, and I'm sure that's the case with any other religion, whatever faith you follow. It hurts, right? For anybody. So I think from that perspective, of course, it hurts, and we don't want to see this kind of racism, bigotry in Texas, in America. That's absolutely a no-no. From the community perspective, look, it's same, it hurts, but they understand that it's one stupid person who is just trying to win some votes for her by doing this crazy stuff. And I tell you, then any decent person, and I know that 99% or more than 99.9% of us in Texas, whatever religion we follow, we are decent human beings. And we understand that no matter what our differences are, we don't want to burn anybody's book, religious book, right? So I think this is just one crazy person who's trying to do whatever she wants to do to get some views, and that's all I see it.
Well, that's good. That's good to know. Yeah, it's hard for me to watch something like that. My gut reaction is like, how could you? Like, that's so wrong. But I think there has been almost an evolution with the Muslims I know of, like, they don't want to fight. They don't see, when they go low, we stay high, and we just stay focused and stay patient, which I appreciate a lot. And so I'm glad that you messaged on that. Dan, is there anything else? I know we've covered pretty much everything here with Imran. Is there anything in particular that you want to ask Imran or kind of close this conversation off with?
I guess it's an unfair question, but I'm a lawyer. I can ask him. If you had this to do over again, Imran, in other words, we're going to call it the Meadows an epic development now as opposed to Epic City. But if you could go back, when did y'all first propose this? A year and a half ago?
February 2024.
Okay, so a year and a half ago, if you knew the fire that y'all would be facing a year and a half later, would you have gone forward a year and a half ago and say, yeah, it's going to be worth it? Or would you say, you know what, that's too expensive, it's too much, I just don't want to do it?
Hindsight is 20/20, always. When we started off, as I said, we never thought that we'll have this backlash.
Right.
We thought we did everything according to, and we did, right? And there is nothing that we have left unturned. But here we are about a year and a half later, and we saw some things. I think some of the things that TWC recommended, as far as some of the marketing, some of the things, trainings, I think I would do that. First of all, I would still do the project.
That's the question.
I
right?
would still,
That's the question.
absolutely, it's worth it. And I will do that project any given day. And absolutely, maybe I'll look more feedback from fair housing perspective. I'll make sure that some of the things they recommended, like getting some training on the fair house, even though we didn't do nothing wrong, even though we went to the lawyers. But I just want to say that maybe the optics came out to be a little bit, that somehow we are just trying to cater this for the Muslim community,
Right.
and I think I would do it a little bit differently. But I would not say that I would not do
Where
the
does that
project.
conviction come from? Why do you feel that way, that you would still do it? Absolutely.
Why not? Why not? If anybody can do it, why not us? Why not? Why can't be a Muslim developer? Why can't we have a community that's a master plan built community where we have place for seniors, where we have place for a hospital, where we have a community center, a mosque, a school? Yes, open to everybody, but why can't we do it? Why not? Isn't that America? We live in Texas. Why not?
To me, Imran, and it's easy for me to say this because you're paying and I'm getting paid, right? there's a difference. But I think it's more important now than ever to complete the project and actually effectuate the project, because if not, you'll never be able to truly have religious freedom. The very thing that Abbott pretends he's protecting, he's doing the exact opposite of. So I think the need to actually start physical construction and finish it is more purposeful and more important now than ever.
True. Well said.
And Governor Abbott, you're more than welcome to come on the show and talk to Dan about this. I know we're a smaller, newer, growing page, but we'd love to have you on to maybe kind of demystify some of this stuff and show you that we're people of faith and we're people of the community. I want to end with some fun stuff, a little bit lighter hearted, and maybe informational to some people. And obviously, you've practiced this faith for a long time, being a Muslim, born and raised.
Yes.
Can you just, for maybe our neighboring, communities in North Dallas, what does Jesus Christ mean to you, and what's your understanding of?
Well,
of
it's
Jesus?
it's a prophet, and we respect Jesus as a prophet, one of the prominent prophets, just like Moses, just like Prophet Muhammad, just like Prophet Abraham, Jacob, Joseph, all of them. So Jesus is one of our prophets that we respect tremendously, that he was born of Virgin Mary.
Let me ask it in a more colloquial way. You don't even believe in the same God that I do. Your God is different than mine, right?
No, it's the same God.
But people say that every time I bring up the faith and get into any more than a superficial discussion. They don't even believe in God. They're heathens. And I'm thinking, no, they do. It's the same God. No, it ain't. It's a different God. It's the same
It's
God.
the same God of Abraham. It's the same God of Ishmael. It's the same God of Isaac. And we're all coming from. So our forefather is Abraham, and it's the same God that we worship. Jews, Christians, Muslims, we follow the same God.
Yeah, and Allah just means God in Arabic.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. Tommy, you had
Wait a minute. You're telling me that Allah is God? No, you're wrong, you heathen.
Yeah, that's what I think is funny, because people like
they worship Allah.
Yeah,
Yes, God.
Why did you pray to Allah? Or, I'm like, yeah, it's just how you say God in Arabic. But Tommy, you had a comment, or
Let me say this: that to be a Muslim, you have to respect Jesus
And believe.
and believe that he was born of Virgin Mary, right? So as a Muslim, this is in our faith that you have to respect Mary and Jesus.
I think a lot
So that goes without saying. I would not be Muslim if I don't believe in Jesus as the
Yeah.
prophet
I
of
think
God.
that goes over the
Yeah.
heads of a lot of
Yeah, and that's why I asked Imran, because I
Yeah.
think most people don't understand what Muslims feel towards Jesus.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite prophets. I think it's interesting to hear. It's refreshing to hear. Another thing, Imran, Tommy kind of touched on this, but what doesn't get talked about, what Abbott doesn't speak enough about, is the coffee shops, the food, the lunch, the dinner options, all the surrounding Muslim-run Muslim businesses that have been developed behind the mosques that have been developed in North Dallas. Do you have a list of maybe your top 3 favorite Muslim-inspired meals or Pakistani meals or brown meals? Like, do you have
Well,
coffee shops you have?
you know what? I love a halal brisket. So I'm being a Texan. Yeah, so let's have a halal brisket.
There you go. So
Yeah, that's my favorite.
There you go.
I love brisket.
hey, listen,
and,
nothing's gonna convert or at least allow people to give us a little bit more love than a good halal
yeah,
brisket.
absolutely, man. I look forward.
Hey, what makes a brisket halal? Can you kind of give us an idea of what does
Well,
that
it's
mean?
just
What does halal
kosher.
mean?
Kosher is kosher. You can just think of it as kosher, and you just pronounce the name of God, and that's what it is. And you slaughter it with, that's what it is.
There's a cleaner.
It's just you get the blood out.
You get the blood out.
Just letting the blood out.
Yeah,
so
so
just
like
like kosher.
kosher.
Kosher. Yeah, it's understood. Yeah.
Correct. So some halal brisket is what Imran is recommending.
Texas.
There you go. It was a pleasure to have you on, Imran.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate
I really appreciate your time. I appreciate what you're trying to work on. I love how open door you are. You're a busy guy. You have a lot going on, but your office door, your phone, your email, it's always open, and you're always swift with response. And we're grateful that you brought Dan into our life. So thank you for that as well. Dan, is there anything that you want to close us off with?
No, just to reiterate what an honor it's been to represent the folks and how grateful I am that they're in my life.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well,
Thank you.
that does it for today's episode of Cogdell Law Uncensored. Cogdell in out.